Good evening, Josh Babbis with ABC News Sunday. They were a state apart from one another, but Bill Shorten and Scott Morrison have gone head-to-head with rival mini-launches of their campaigns. The Prime Minister in Brisbane kicked off his defence of Queensland seats, stressing the importance of job creation for young workers, while Bill Shorten drew most of his front bench together in Western Sydney with a rallying cry to Labor volunteers. Here's National Affairs correspondent Greg Jennett.
A two-tier light and sound spectacular. And full-sized fair go flyers flown so enthusiastically.
Friends, it is time for change.
They almost obscured the point. Labor's slick Sydney shindig, thick with front benches, was no campaign launch, just an exercise in firing up the volunteers and shooting down the naysayers.
I wish to make it clear today that Labor has neither an apocalypse policy nor an Armageddon agenda.
From Showman's Playhouse to Stockman's Beer Shed. Thank you. Scott Morrison's Brisbane barnstorm boasted stagecraft of more modest means.
We're up for this. We're so up for this.
Right down to the backing banners. But what it lacks in money, the Prime Minister's campaign makes up for in constant reinforcement.
So you want to ask me about this election? It's about jobs.
Whether touting $50 million to target pockets of high youth unemployment,
that's what a strong economy does.
Tackling the scourge of youth suicide or investing in the environment, the Morrison mantra applies.
If you can't manage money, then you can't run the country.
It goes down well with LNP lieutenants, even if one of them's still struggling to live down an ill-considered strike against his Labor opponent.
Do you regret making your comments about the Labor candidate?
Now, we don't want to dwell on his pathetic attempt to bully Ailey France. It was a test of leadership, and the Prime Minister failed miserably.
In style, stagecraft and sparseness of spending, this weekend's mini-launches say much about the tone both campaigns will adopt in the 5 weeks remaining. Labor's backed by marshalled forces of professionals and volunteers alike. The coalition's an on-the-ground battle to try to save itself one seat at a time. In the Queensland electorate of Petrie, margin just 1%.
We've got to keep the same government. We've got to keep it going, mate. You've got to keep it going, mate.
The Morrison touch seems one part Midas.
I think she might have a happy pants on.
And one part melancholy. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.
Well, if you aren't paying much attention to the election, or even if you are, it can be hard to find the policies within the politics. So every Sunday, we're going to provide a roundup of the major campaign announcements. It's only been 3 days so far, but the priorities are shaping up. The Coalition's major message is the economy, backed up with infrastructure projects in Western Sydney and promoting tax cuts. There's also policies on mental health and youth jobs. Labor is focused on health with new cancer imaging services, skin cancer prevention and addressing their share of health funding. And if you want to find out how you line up with the various policies of the parties, take the ABC's Vote Compass survey. Just head to abc.net.au/AustraliaVotes.